Welcome back, coin lovers, collectors, and treasure hunters from all over. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of one of Australia's smallest denominations, the 1 cent coin. While these tiny copper coins were officially withdrawn from circulation in 1992, some of them have become rare collector's items, worth far more than their face value. Whether it's due to low mintage, pristine condition, or unique minting errors, the value of some 1 cent coins has soared over time, and you just might have one sitting unnoticed in your coin jar. So let's get started with the top 4 most valuable 1 cent Australian coins you should be hunting for. Let's get started. First up, the 1983 Australian 1 cent coin, a coin with copper brilliance, natural charm, and the potential to be worth far more than you ever imagined. If you have one in very fine condition, you could be holding a piece of Australia's hidden numismatic legacy, and possibly your very own million-dollar miracle. Let's set the scene. The year is 1983. Australia is transitioning into the modern financial age. Interest rates are high, inflation is peaking, and the humble 1 cent coin is still part of everyday life. Introduced in 1966 alongside the nation's decimal currency system, the 1 cent coin served as the smallest unit of currency, quietly keeping the economy balanced. But by the early 1980s, production costs for copper coins were rising, and so were whispers of discontinuation. What few realized at the time was that the 1983 1 cent coin would become one of the final chapters in the life of this denomination, and for collectors, one of its most valuable hidden gems. On the reverse side, this small yet stunning coin features the beautiful and intricately detailed feathertail glider, a tiny nocturnal marsupial native to Australia. Curled delicately along a branch, its tail spreads out like a fan, and its body curves with elegance. This design was the brilliant work of Stuart Devlin, the same master craftsman behind many of Australia's most beloved coin designs. It's more than a symbol of the animal kingdom. It's a showcase of artistic mastery. In very fine condition, the details of the glider's fur, feet, and tail are still clearly visible, and the branch shows fine grain and texture. This is where the true magic lies, because coins in this condition are becoming harder and harder to find. Flip the coin, and on the obverse, you'll find the second effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. Her Majesty appears young and composed, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a regal and iconic pose that connects the coin to its era. Around her portrait are the inscriptions Elizabeth II and Australia 1983, balanced and classic. In very fine condition, the Queen's facial details, hairlines, and tiara beads remain sharp, making these coins stand out instantly to collectors. In terms of specifications, the 1983 1 cent coin is compact but mighty. It weighs 2.6 grams, has a diameter of 17.65 millimeters, and is composed of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, giving it that rich, reddish-brown color that deepens into a beautiful patina with age. Its plain edge and brilliant circular form make it instantly recognizable. The coin was struck at the Royal Australian Mint, with a reported mintage of approximately 227 million, but don't let that fool you. Most have been lost to time, wear, or melted for their copper content, and very few remain in collectible condition today. Now comes the most exciting part: value and demand. In well-worn condition, a 1983 1 cent coin might fetch only a few cents. But in very fine condition, these coins command $5 to $20 Australian dollars depending on luster, detail, and patina. That may not sound like a fortune until you consider this. Some coins from this year exhibit rare minting errors, like off-center strikes, double obverse, planchet cracks, and even die clashes. These error coins, especially when professionally authenticated, have been listed and sold for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. And in pristine, uncirculated condition, high-grade specimens have broken auction records. With the rising price of copper and the permanent discontinuation of 1 cent coins after 1990, interest in these early 80s cents is exploding, making them prime candidates for long-term investment. What's driving this surge? The truth is, we're living in a new golden age of collecting. Younger generations are rediscovering the beauty of coins, especially those from the pre-smartphone era. Coins like the 1983 1-cent piece are now being reevaluated not just as collectibles, but as historical artifacts, physical tokens from a simpler, more tactile time. Combine this with the growing international demand for Australian currency, and suddenly, these small coins have enormous potential. So here's what you should do. Search your coin jars, drawers, old purses, and inherited collections. Look closely at every 1983 1-cent coin you find. Examine the glider's tail. Study the queen's tiara. If the surfaces are smooth but still retain detailed definition, and there's minimal scratching or corrosion, you may be holding a very fine specimen. And if you suspect anything unusual, like extra lines, ghosting, or edge flaws, get it checked. Because your coin may be a rare error, and that could transform your humble find into a five-figure treasure. In conclusion, the 1983 Australian 1-cent coin is a pocket-sized piece of history. It's a coin that carries the soul of a nation, the mark of brilliant artistry, and, for some lucky collectors, the path to an unexpected fortune. In very fine condition, it already stands above millions of others. And as the years pass, its value will only rise. So don't let this small coin fool you, because sometimes the tiniest treasures carry the greatest stories and the greatest rewards. Next up, the 1976 Australian 1-cent coin, a tiny copper gem that many people overlook, toss aside, or forget in dusty jars and drawers. But in extra fine condition, and under the right circumstances, this coin could be worth far more than face value. Possibly even the beginning of a journey towards something life-changing. Let's set the stage. It's 1976. Australia is evolving, politically, socially, and economically. It's a time of quiet transformation. Amid this backdrop, the Royal Australian Mint continues its mission of crafting currency that doesn't just pay bills, but tells stories. And among the coins produced that year was the modest but mighty 1-cent coin. Originally introduced a decade earlier during the decimalisation of the Australian currency in 1966, the 1-cent coin carried with it the intent to reflect the nation's heritage and natural beauty. And the 1976 edition is no exception. It's a masterpiece of miniature design. Take a close look at the reverse, and you'll find the adorable and intricate feathertail glider, one of Australia's smallest and most fascinating marsupials. Designed by the legendary Stuart Devlin, this glider curls gracefully along a thin branch, its tail fanned out like a feather in motion, almost glowing with life. The level of detail is astonishing. In extra fine condition, the glider's fur lines, claws, tail ridges, and even the fine bark texture of the branch remain visible. It's like holding a snapshot of Australia's wild beauty in the palm of your hand, a tribute to the continent's natural legacy. Turn the coin over, and you're greeted by the graceful profile of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait, used on Australian coinage from 1966 to 1984, is elegant and youthful, depicting the Queen wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. In extra fine condition, the Queen's features are still crisp, her hair is well-defined, her facial profile unblemished, and the tiara's beadwork remarkably intact. The inscriptions Elizabeth II and Australia 1976 frame the portrait beautifully. Let's get into the technical specifications. The 1976 1-cent coin weighs 2.59 grams, has a diameter of 17.65 millimeters, and is made from a blend of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, a bronze alloy that gives it its signature deep reddish hue. The coin has a plain edge and was struck at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. It is compact, sturdy, and holds up remarkably well against time when properly stored. Now, let's talk value and demand. While the 1-cent coin was produced in large quantities in 1976, with a mintage of approximately 160 million, most of them have been heavily circulated, worn down, or even melted for their copper content after the coin was withdrawn from circulation in 1992. That's why finding a 1976 coin in extra fine condition is becoming harder by the year. In worn condition, it might only fetch a few cents. But in extra fine condition, with only light signs of wear and most of the design still sharp, this coin can command $5 to 25 Australian dollars, depending on its eye appeal. But the real value lies beyond the basic coin. Several 1976-era coins have been reported over the years, including die cracks, off-center strikes, double strikes, and even rare clipped planchets. If you happen to own a 1976 1-cent coin with a verified mint error, you could be sitting on a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially if professionally graded and authenticated. Some well-preserved mint-state error coins from this year have gone on to break auction expectations, sending collectors scrambling to find similar examples. What's driving this sudden surge in interest? The answer is simple: scarcity, sentiment, and rising global attention on pre-1990s Australian coins. These coins are now seen not just as collectibles, but as pieces of Australian history. As new generations of collectors enter the scene, there's a growing fascination with early decimal currency, and among them, the 1-cent coin is gaining mythic status. The 1976 edition, being one of the mid-decade survivors in extra fine or better condition, is becoming a cornerstone in many serious collections. So what should you look for in your own search? First, inspect the glider's tail and body. Are the lines clean and detailed? Does the queen's portrait still carry clarity in her hair and tiara? Are there minimal surface scratches? And does the coin still have a hint of original luster? If the answer is yes, you may already have a valuable piece of copper history in your hands. And if there's an unusual mark or minting flaw, get it appraised. You might have stumbled upon a secret jackpot. In conclusion, the 1976 Australian 1-cent coin is so much more than a relic of the past. It's a symbol of national identity, a work of miniature art, and potentially a life-altering discovery for those lucky enough to hold it in rare condition. With growing demand, a shrinking supply of clean specimens, and the ever-rising interest in error coins and early decimal issues, this coin is poised for a serious breakout in value. So check your change, search your childhood piggy banks, and look through old jars, because that small copper coin with a glider on it could be the key to your millionaire story. Next up, the 1966 Australian 1-cent coin. It's a coin that most people have held in their hands at some point in time, and many still do, tucked away in old drawers, forgotten jars, or inherited collections. But make no mistake, in extra fine condition, this coin could be the doorway to incredible value, maybe even life-changing fortune, especially if you stumble upon one of its rare variants or errors. Let's set the scene. It's February 14th, 1966, a landmark day in Australian financial history. On this day, the country transitioned from pounds, shillings, and pence to decimal currency. Out went the old British monetary system, and in came a modern, streamlined system with dollars and cents. Among the very first coins issued under this bold new standard was the 1-cent coin, a small, bronze beauty that would soon become part of everyday life. But the first-year issues, like all firsts in numismatics, carry enormous historical significance, and the 1966 1-cent coin is now considered a keystone collectible, especially when found in extra fine condition. Let's start with the design, an absolute masterpiece of detail and charm. On the reverse, designed by the legendary Stuart Devlin, we see the delicate and whimsical feathertail glider, a small Australian marsupial, gently poised on a thin branch. Its long tail, feather-like and fanned out, gives this coin its soul, a fusion of nature and numismatic art. Devlin, who later became the official goldsmith to the Queen, captured not just the creature's form but its very essence. In extra fine condition, the glider's fur is visibly textured, its paws are sharp, and even the grains of the branch are distinguishable, details often lost in worn coins but magnificently present here. Turn the coin over, and you're greeted by the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. The portrait shows the Queen with youthful poise, crowned with the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Her serene gaze and detailed hairline mark the era's classic elegance. The inscription reads, Elizabeth II Australia 1966, circling the top. In extra fine condition, this portrait remains crisp, the tiara's beads remain prominent, and the coin's fields, background, still retain traces of its original sheen, a sign of well-preserved copper. Now let's dive into the specifications. The 1966 1-cent coin weighs 2.59 grams, has a diameter of 17.65 millimeters, and is composed of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, giving it that deep reddish-brown color, often developing a rich patina with age. It features a plain edge and was struck at the Royal Australian Mint, as well as at London's Royal Mint, due to the sheer demand of coins needed to launch the new decimal system. Yes, there are multiple minting sources for 1966, and that alone adds layers of rarity to certain varieties. With a mintage of over 239 million, you might think the 1966 1-cent coin is common. But here's where things get exciting. Only a tiny fraction of these coins survive today in extra fine or better condition. Most were spent, scraped, and corroded by time. But those few coins that were kept, untouched, unsmudged, and clean, are now hot commodities in the collector's world. In extra fine condition, a 1966 1-cent coin can easily fetch $10 to 30 Australian dollars, and sometimes more depending on its luster and mint mark clarity. But that's just the beginning. Enter the realm of rare errors and variants, and we're talking serious money. There are reports of 1,966 1-cent coins with die cracks, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, and even coins with a missing design element due to filled dies. Some of these coins, when verified and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, have sold for hundreds to thousands of dollars. And don't forget the extremely rare proof versions struck in limited quantities for presentation sets. These coins are almost never seen in the wild and are considered numismatic royalty. What's driving this coin's surge in value? Simple. It's a first-issue coin. It's made from copper, which has increasing intrinsic value. It features an endangered animal, and it has deep national historical significance. And as more Australians and international collectors turn their focus to early decimal currency, demand is only growing. The 1966 1-cent coin isn't just a collector's piece, it's a cultural icon. So what should you be looking for? If you have a 1966 1-cent coin, examine it closely. In extra fine condition, you should see strong lines in the glider's tail, no major surface damage, and crisp details on the Queen's portrait. Check for any minting anomalies, double edges, rim splits, or missing details, and don't underestimate even the slightest error. A simple variation could be the difference between a $10 coin and a $10,000 auction spotlight. In conclusion, the 1966 Australian 1-cent coin is far more than a small disc of bronze. It's a time capsule, a milestone, and for a lucky few, a potential millionaire maker. In extra fine condition, it represents one of the rarest survivors of Australia's decimal currency debut. Add a rare error or unique strike, and you're looking at a coin that could change your financial future. So take a second look at your change jars, those dusty family boxes, or even your childhood piggy bank, because that humble 1966 1-cent coin might just be the copper crown jewel of your fortune. Next up, the 1973 Australian 1-cent coin, a copper relic from a simpler time, now quietly becoming one of the most watched sleeper coins in the numismatic world. Even in damaged condition, this coin holds the potential to unlock history, mystery, and yes, even the kind of surprise that could change your fortune. Let's wind the clock back to 1973. Australia is in a period of transformation. Decimal currency had already been in circulation for 7 years, but the early decimal coins, especially the 1-cent piece, were becoming symbols of the country's new identity. The 1973 1-cent coin, part of this early decimal era, was minted in large numbers. Yet today, only a fraction survives, and even fewer are known to collectors in presentable condition. While many might discard a damaged or worn-out 1-cent coin, let me tell you, that would be a huge mistake. The reverse design of the 1973 1-cent coin features the beloved feathertail glider, an animal as small and agile as the coin itself. Designed by Stuart Devlin, the glider is shown perched delicately on a branch, with its signature fan-shaped tail spread wide behind it. In damaged condition, some of these beautiful details may be faded. The glider's fur might be worn smooth, the branch may be dulled, but the soul of the design still remains. And for collectors, even a damaged coin can hold emotional and historic value, especially when it comes from a critical year in Australian mintage history. Turn to the obverse, and you'll see the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Machin. This portrait, used from 1966 to 1984, showcases the Queen in youthful regality, wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. In a damaged coin, this side might show scratches, corrosion, or loss of detail, but it still connects the holder to a specific moment in history. This was Australia in the early 70s, a nation finding its voice, its style, and its future. Now let's talk specifications. The 1973 1-cent coin weighs 2.59 grams, has a diameter of 17.65 millimeters, and is composed of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, a classic bronze alloy. Its color ranges from a vibrant coppery red to a darker chocolate tone as it ages. And in damaged coins, you'll often see blackening, heavy patina, or even corrosion from environmental exposure. While these features reduce visual appeal, they don't erase the underlying numismatic power of the coin, especially if it carries rarity or error traits. The mintage of the 1973 1-cent coin is estimated at around 66 million, making it scarcer than many earlier years. Combine that with the fact that few collectors at the time were saving coins in mint or pristine condition, and you start to understand why even a worn coin from 1973 can carry interest and sometimes serious value. Let's explore the market value. In damaged or heavily circulated condition, a standard 1973 1-cent coin may only fetch 20 cents to $2, a modest amount on the surface. But that's not the whole story. If your coin has error characteristics, such as off-center striking, die cracks, rim cuts, clipped planchets, or doubling in the date or lettering, its value can skyrocket. Some error coins from the early 1970s have fetched hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and visual impact. A seemingly worthless coin in damaged condition could actually be an ultra-rare minting anomaly, missed by others but worth a fortune to the right buyer. What's more, there's growing demand for low-grade rarity collections, where collectors purposely gather coins in poor or damaged condition to showcase survivors of circulation. These coins tell stories of generations, of time, of usage, and collectors are starting to see the beauty in imperfections. This cultural shift is increasing the value of even flawed coins from key years like 1973. So what should you be looking for? Start by checking the edge for clips or cracks. Inspect the date and lettering for ghosting, doubling, or misshapes. Check the glider and the Queen's portrait for alignment issues. Even with surface damage, these tiny imperfections could mean your coin is one of a kind. And in the collecting world, rarity is everything. In conclusion, the 1973 Australian 1-cent coin may be small, may be damaged, and may seem insignificant, but it is absolutely packed with hidden power. It represents a critical time in Australia's numismatic journey, a coin with design brilliance, and a coin that, even in poor condition, might be the ticket to something extraordinary. In a world of flawless showpieces, sometimes the worn warrior is the one that tells the best story and earns the highest price. So don't overlook that old, damaged copper coin you found at the bottom of the drawer. It may not be shiny, but it could be golden in value. It could be your chance to be part of something bigger, to own a piece of history that, under the right spotlight, becomes a millionaire-making marvel.